Quickswapping or quickswap teams have become quite popular in Wuthering Waves. It essentially involves swapping your characters during their attack animations to save some time by having two characters on field doing attacks simultaneously, and you optimize this to build your Concerto energy for each character at roughly the same rate. We call this Concerto matching. It also makes gameplay look insanely flashy and just one subjectively fun way to play the game. But have you ever wondered whether KURO games intended for this type of playstyle? Well, the first ever Quickswap team answers that question. On the 23rd of July 2022, over 2 years ago, KURO Games uploaded their first gameplay demo of Wuthering Waves, showcasing some of the combats they were developing at the time. The only character kits showcased in this video are both male and female Rover, Sanhua and Yang Yang. Most of the gameplay looked pretty standard for what you would expect in a combat demo, just a good old look at the abilities and Solaris 3 back then. It wasn't until 1 minute and 18 seconds in the video, KURO Games showcased the very first quickswap in Wuthering Waves history, a combination of Rover, Sanhua and Yang Yang that would trademark the beginning of quickswapping in the game. But what you see here has more meaning than just quickswapping. This gameplay is from the first iteration of Wuthering Waves with Concerto reactions. Each resonator of your team had their Concerto energy alongside their forte bar. When making attacks with your active resonator, you would fill up their Concerto energy, the same as today. However, once their Concerto energy was filled, it began to deplete over time. At the same time, while it is depleting, your active character will have a symbol around them. That is the symbol you'll see around Rover during the showcase. When this symbol is present, switching to a character of a different element would trigger a Concerto reaction. The Rover switching to Sanhua triggered Ice Domain, which creates a stagnation field and reduces enemy glacier resistance, and Sanhua to Yang Yang triggered Ice Array, which creates the arrow field that sucks enemies in and deals damage to them. This showcased the maximum gameplay potential of Wuthering Waves back then, where you can trigger multiple reactions within 2 keystrokes. KURO Games also quickswap from Sanhua to Yang Yang during Sanhua's intro skill, which is now animation locked today. So why did KURO nerf this? Well, they didn't. KURO is actually ahead of their time. Imagine using this old system in today's Wuthering Waves and we reach, say, version 5.0. So we have this symbol that means a reaction can be made when Concerto energy is filled, which we will call an elemental aura. No matter what character releases in the future, the elemental aura triggers the same reactions that can be triggered by characters released in version 1.0. Perhaps as time went on, these newer characters could build their elemental aura faster, but there will always be that set amount of time before the next time they can trigger a reaction. We'll call this time between reactions their internal cooldown. So as time went on, no matter what characters release, the goal or purpose was the same as characters that released in version 1.0 to create one of the 15 predefined reactions. This creates problems for longevity of a game, because eventually KURO would have to start selling new mechanics on characters to create variation and not feel repetitive. So if you want to then experience these mechanics, you need to spend on characters with these mechanics rather than who you want. And if enemies require these mechanics to be stunned, then essentially you're fighting mechanics, not fighting an enemy. KURO Games is 2 steps or years ahead of their time because they have introduced a system that eliminates this issue. Instead of reactions being the end goal for characters, we now have ultra skills that do any mechanic KURO wants to create or think of. If you want a character to effectively boost your damage, you don't need to make a specific reaction. You can use one character that does the job in combination with any character of any element. For example, Sanhua can be used with any character of any element to boost their basic attack damage. You don't need to use her with a Spectre character just to boost your damage. Or let's say you want to freeze an enemy. There was a reaction that required one arrow and one glacier character, which means that only certain party members could play around this reaction. In today's Intra-Ultra system, KURO can just add this feature to any character of any element. For example, Spectre Rover's Ultra skill freezes enemies by stopping time. Now this means you don't need a Glacier and Arrow character, you can use a Spectre character that fits in any team comp. Perhaps in the future KURO releases a Glacier character that does this with their Ultra skill. Now you can use this Glacier character with any element in the game and still get that freeze effect. Essentially, instead of being time gated and selling different mechanics that all have the same endpoint of applying an elemental aura, KURO games have designed a system that breaks a repetitive cycle to avoid the end goal mechanic of reactions. And this allows players to use any combination of characters they want. Now the question is, what system do you prefer? The system with the end goal, or the system that starts at the same point and has an unending list of possibilities? For example, if KURO wants a fusion character that can freeze enemies, they can make it. They are no longer restricted by an elemental reaction. That is all for this video. I will see you in the next video.